welcome to Lock It Down Sports. I'm Locke, and I know, okay? It's been a minute. I've missed you as much as you've missed me. Well, I like to think anyway. There's some software difficulties is why it's been so long since I've been able to speak with you. And there's so much I could get into. But obviously, we're talking about currently what's going on, and we're getting into the Braves. We're going to get into the Braves. We're going to get into Cooperstown college football playoffs. I know playoffs. Yes, there's been recent news about it. I got to get it out there. Major League Baseball All-Star Game and a TV deal and current state of this UT program right now. Just had SEC Media Days, so there's always news going out about it. But first, I want to tell you about my friends at Stream Studio. It's a multi-camera live streaming platform that allows you to go live in less than 1 minute. It's a video podcasting live webinar streaming platform that allows you to stream to multiple platforms at the same time. Now, yes, we know the Braves are on a roll. They can lose and still pick up games. That's what they've recently been doing. I could talk on and on about the whole team, their production, how good they are, even how banged up they are. But I want to talk about an unsung hero and someone who would get more MVP talk if it wasn't for his own teammates. That's right, I'm talking about Sean Murphy. When he first came to Atlanta, I knew he was going to be a good player. What he did out in Oakland, put up really good numbers for an Oakland team that was terrible and a tough hitter's ballpark out there. Comes to Atlanta, winning team, better lineup around him, and he has been every bit worth the penny and more. The Braves had to steal from him to begin with, but what he's done, absolutely incredible. So let's just run this down real quick. 4th in runs, 9th in hits, 5th in doubles, 2nd in home runs, 2nd in RBIs, and tied for 1st in average, 1st in OPS, 1st in slugging, and 2nd in on base, all in catcher's rankings. It's pretty salty. Hits in the middle of the Braves lineup, hits 5th, hit 4th and 5th, basically the entire year. Yeah, I know some of those stats, of course, are coming out of the DH spot. One who DH every now and again. But still, a catcher with that production, that's pretty darn good if you ask me. Oh, yeah? He's on pace for 29 homers and 98 RBIs. Out of your catching spot. That's not an everyday regular thing. Like I said, that's MVP caliber type numbers. Oh yeah, on top of one of the best throw and catch guys, framing guys, and best defensive guys, catchers in the game. Where he can pick it, scoop it. You've seen multiple times what he's done back there behind the plate. Really impressive. And it's been fun to watch him, other than hearing, yeah, this guy's good. He's been really good. Oh, but don't sleep on another appreciation for this Braves catching tandem, Travis d'Arnaud. Just 136 at bats. Here he has 8 bombs, 23 RBIs. He is hitting .265, 1st in OPS and slugging with any catcher of less than 200 bats, and 2nd in OPS. That right there, he's on pace for 14 homers, 40 RBIs. Also, great bench bat to come off the bench and pitch hit for Eddie when there's a lefty on the mound. Also, too, when it comes to this Braves lineup, if you've noticed, Sean Murphy's out, Travis d'Arnaud slides right in there on the 5-hole. A lot of times with these catchers, what do you have? Whatever you have, your starting catcher, maybe say 5th, 6th, 7th, whatever it is. Their backup is in that 9 slot. Not the case in Atlanta. He slides right in at wherever basically Sean Murphy's been hitting. 3rd, 4th, 5th. Slide Travis d'Arnaud in there, and it's, you don't blink. You're like, all right, let's go. Let's roll, d'Arnaud. And as a tandem, the Braves have 25 homers already, 80 RBIs, and 63 home runs. 63 runs scored. That's pretty salty numbers. From the catching position currently, where we are right now, easily I could see a 35, well over 100 RBI club for position for catchers. Obviously over 100 RBIs. You might outside chance of getting 40 from the catching spot. That'd be pretty impressive. You get 40 homers from the catching spot, over 100 RBIs, you take that in a heartbeat. And that's been part of the reasons for the Braves' success. And Travis d'Arnaud just signed that 1-year, $8 million deal extension to stay in Atlanta. He wants to be here, and he loves it in Atlanta. And that's more than merry, the leadership. He knows his role, what he's going to do, and it's been a match made for both the Braves and d'Arnaud ever since he's come to Atlanta. Now, like I said, since I haven't been able to speak with you in a while, I haven't been able to talk about this, but a few months ago, I went to Cooperstown, which is about to be the mecca of baseball here coming up soon with Fred McGriff and Scott Rowland going in the Hall of Fame and the ceremonies coming up. That place is a neat town, I'll tell you what. It's a small town. I was very surprised what everything entailed about Cooperstown. It's a small town. Not very big. The Hall of Fame is downtown. It's basically one stretch, like a strip of little restaurants and gift shops, post office, and boom, there's the Hall of Fame. A few blocks over, you've got a lake, but it's a neat town. It's funny. It's almost like it's just like a town that the Hall of Fame just happens to be in, because that's like the setup for it. Now, when I went to the Hall of Fame, it's amazing. Any baseball fan has to at some point make their way to Cooperstown. I mean, they do a great job of showcasing the history, which is what it's all about. It's a museum after all. But just like the layout of the rundown, of course they got all the old gloves, some of the old bats in the plaques, or in the not the plaques, in the museum showcasing that sort of thing. But they really do a cool walkthrough and setup where they show everything of baseball. Like they show the PED era, just a little, hey, here's what happened with Babe Ruth. What happened with Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, Jose Canseco, some of the others that took PEDs, that hit all these home runs. Here's a little small, not plaque, but little like glass case of, hey, here's some stories about it and what happened. They have lockers of every Major League Baseball team, and there's big moments that each team has had. Different players might be here's the ball for a triple play, or the jersey for a 20 strikeout game, or just something like that for each team that represents. And I was asking one of the one of the workers in the museum, like, so like how far? I mean, they've got so many things to pick from with all these teams and logo. I mean, teams and history of different stuff, and they go back from the last 10 years, which I guess is fair. Because people have bad memories. I do, hand raised, about what they remember, or maybe they don't remember. And then obviously for the kids, they might not have been born when that happened. So that's interesting. They just have all this stuff they can filter it in, filter it out when they set up the the layout for the different lockers. To me, absolutely the most coolest thing was the Hall of Fame plaques. It was incredible just walking in there, the gallery, and seeing all the plaques and just reading the stats and the different eras of each player. And I really liked what they had on some of the plaques, or I guess shall I say below the plaques, where they had stars. And it's like, why do some have stars and some don't? Well, it's whatever if they're military, if they served in them, what war they served in, they've got stars below it, that's really cool. It shows respect, obviously, of what they've done, but just represents them as well. Interesting enough, too, I didn't know this ceremony where they we had the induction for the players. It's not even on the premise of where the Hall of Fame is. It's probably 10 minutes or 5-10 minutes away in an open field. But when you pull up, it's like a rec center that has indoor, your basketball gyms and that sort of thing. And it's just this big open field. So I was like, I'm going to just go check it out just to see. Obviously, I know it's going to be completely different from then when it was on TV. But it's just open soccer. It's an open soccer field, a kid's little baseball field. And that's it. That's all they've got there to that's it. And of course, when you do the Hall of Fame, they put up the stage, all the separate broadcasting areas. So it's a very different setup. But that was neat to see. Just here's where it is. It's not even on campus, but it's a very neat, cool town. Also, if you ever do have a chance to go, another thing I will say is you have to go to a hidden gem in the Cooperstown Bat Factory. Yeah, they've got a bat factory, which makes sense up there. And very small, but it's where they produce wooden bats. Just like any other wooden bat company. Some are for Major League Baseball players. They have some contracts with Major League Baseball players. Others, they produce for Little League and your wooden bat tournaments and things like that. You can just go by, showcase your display, whatever, or you of course use them if you got kids in a wooden bat tournament. So that is a must as well to go to. They tell you stories. They talk about their history, what they do, about them, and some of the players that they have on their Major League Baseball roster. Really neat run through spot. I would definitely recommend going and checking that out. So let me tell you my friends at Stream Studio. It's a multi-camera live streaming platform that allows you to go live in less than 1 minute. It's a video podcasting live webinar streaming platform that allows you to stream to multiple platforms at the same time. Now, Major League Baseball All-Star Game, first and foremost, jerseys were ugly, which is normally the case whenever they have to wear National League and American League jerseys. I mean, why do they continue to muck it up and not let the players just wear their regular jerseys? I know why. They're trying to sell them for merchandise and all that. But at least make them look good. At least make them you know what? If they're going to do that, they should almost do like a Nike, their City Connect jerseys for each team. Now that would get your revenue and your profits right there. They look terrible, and I wish they would stop screwing that up. But sometimes, I won't say sometimes, a lot of times Major League Baseball can't get out of their own way. Now, kind of some interesting numbers here about this. Outside of the game, good game. National League finally broke the skid and won a game for a first time in a hot minute for sure. But this was the second straight year a record low TV rating for the All-Star Game at 7 million viewership for rating, but it was higher than any other league All-Star Game. Seattle makes sense, and Atlanta makes sense, were the two most highest rated cities that viewed the All-Star Game. Of course, makes sense. Seattle. It's in Seattle. Let's check it out. Atlanta. Basically have the entire team there. So every Braves fan wants to see their guys play because their whole team is there. So yeah, that makes sense. Now, talking about numbers a little bit earlier, Pro Bowl had 6.28 million. NBA had 4.5 million. The home run derby itself had 6.11 million. And none of that surprises me by the numbers either. Yes, I know Major League Baseball isn't near as popular as, of course, the NFL. It's close, neck and neck with the NBA. But why it is the best, highest rated game to me is because it's the only All-Star game that actually looks like a real regular season game. It's still the most equivalent to it. It's not a 199 to 197 score like in basketball. It's not a Pro Bowl, which become flag football two-hand touch. Now they've basically gotten rid of, and they're trying to get creative with all these skill competitions and this and that. And we know what a joke the Pro Bowl is and has become. It's the only one that's an actual game. And it makes sense. And it works. It really does. And hopefully this will continue to increase interest in the game as the numbers were up for the younger demographic. The 18 to 35-year-old demographic, the numbers and ratings were up. So maybe it's that growth in that sport and it's the excitement, which is very much needed. Now, something else that has been very refreshing on my end. Right now, yes, it's July, but we've just had SEC Media Days. And it's almost like a update of where the current program is. And that's the current state of Tennessee's program. To me, I've been very impressed being able to parlay last year's success. Obviously, we know 11-2 last year, Orange Bowl win, beat Florida for the first time in 6 years, and just the second time in 19 years. Beat Alabama for the first time in 17 years. So how are they parlaying that success? With the loss of Hendon Hooker and Hyatt, the Biletnikoff winner. They're winning recruiting battles. Currently ranked 7th. They've picked up 3 4-stars recently. 2 in the last 2 weeks. One recently just picked up Mac Matthews, 4-star wide receiver out of Georgia. You're going down to Georgia, get one out. They beat out Georgia, Clemson, and Southern Cal were the top 3 schools that he was considering. Caleb Beasley, 4-star cornerback out of Tennessee. Very big to me right there. I'll get to that in a minute. Beat out Georgia, LSU, and Clemson. And then Edward Spillman, 4-star linebacker, another one out of Tennessee. Ohio State, Georgia, FSU is top 3. Then it came down to Ohio State and Tennessee, where's final 2. Why is that so important to me? It's because Tennessee should be getting 4 and 5 stars from Tennessee. 2 or 3 years ago, they weren't. And it showed and reflected. To me, Beasley and Spillman are almost more important recruiting wins than Matthews to me. And here's why. You can now convince Tennessee kids to stay home and come to your program. If you're Tennessee, you have to be able to do that. You have to get your 5 to 10 SEC type kids to come to Tennessee. That's all you're going to be getting, that caliber player, because you know you have to go get 2 or 3 from Georgia, 2 or 3 from Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina, Ohio. Pull a few out of the West, whether it's a California, maybe you get somewhere in Oregon or somewhere like that. Maybe you get Northeast, maybe one up in New York. But you have to pull a handful of kids from each of those states, because you can't get 15 kids from Florida like those Florida schools can, 15 kids from Georgia like Georgia can. It doesn't happen. You're not going to be able to, because the talent level is not there. And you're going to recruit your home state, which is incredibly important to me. Now, another big thing in this recruiting battle is the negative recruiting war is over against Tennessee. Schools can't come up and say, well, this is going to be XYZ because of all the penalties that happened when Jeremy Pruitt were there. That's done. That's out in the open. So schools know, kids know what the result's going to be. In total, it's just going to be $8 million in fines for Tennessee, a scholarship reduction, so reducing 2 a season for 3 or more years. And they've already self-imposed some of those in 2022 and 2023. So they've already done some of that. They're also going to have to reduce official and non-official visits, which they've already done it once again from the self-imposed the last 2 years. The big one, though, no postseason ban. Big deal. So that means they're going to be able to go to bowl games. And if Tennessee continues to play as they've been playing, that's important, because with the expanded playoffs, say you lose 2 games, you still got a good shot. Whether you say you lose to Georgia and Alabama at this point, you're still in the mix and have a good chance of getting into the postseason because of that. Now, I've said continue the success. The one thing they're going to be able to continue to build on and grow with that success obviously comes down to that one question. the defensive side of the ball. There's no denying Tennessee's offense. We're going to see what happens with Joe Milton if he can get his accuracy under control. But he's got his accuracy under control. The Tennessee offense, which is again is going to be off and running. They're winning some, like I just said, they're winning some of these battles. Two of those four-star guys, cornerback, linebacker, defensive side of the ball, have to have that success to continue to build it, grow that, continue to add depth. SEC caliber players on the defensive side of the ball is going to really determine where Tennessee is going to be able to go in the long run in the future, because they've been able to turn average offensive players into really good high caliber players to put up big offensive numbers, which is a big important thing. So what are you doing on defense? That's the big deal. Now, I thought this was a very important thing for the ACC, as they just partnered with the CW network. And it's kind of, you kind of want to laugh at it, like, oh, the CW, what's that? Well, they have a nice little reach and getting into the sports space, as they currently broadcast the Live Tour, and they're only adding to it with the ACC. Now, there'll be 50 total games in this 4-year deal. 13 football games, 28 basketball games, and 9 women's basketball games. To me, it's a good second or third network for the ACC, which used to be Raycom Sports. Obviously, they got their package on ACC, ABC, ESPN, ACC network, but a good second or third tier network for them. Now, I don't know how their selection process is going to go, if they're going to be second in front of the ACC network or third behind the ACC network. I don't know that tier selection. I haven't seen her come out. They haven't seen her come out yet where they're going to fall. So, great pickup for them. So, like, for example, there's going to be a lot of non-conference games. So, like Pitt Cincinnati, that's a pretty solid tier of a game that they're going to air coming up. Now, another thing with this TV deal, it strengthens the ACC conference as a whole, because they've got another TV deal involved in part of their conference. Another revenue stream, and to me, it kind of strengthens the conference as a whole. That could possibly, with this TV deal now, eliminate a potential Pac-12 deal. Now, yeah, CW could go in and still offer the Pac-12, but it won't be as much money because they've already got some invested in the ACC. Heck, it might, but I wouldn't think so. And to me, it also kind of widens that gap a little bit farther for the ACC to be that third or fourth conference in the Power 5. It's a definite distance for them over the Pac-12, without a doubt. So it's a nice pickup for the ACC, and I think it's very important for them to continue to keep up with the Joneses, basically, and try to keep up with the SEC and the Big Ten. Still a big hill to climb for them, but it's in that range of that third or fourth tier conference, which is good for them, and that it's nice. Good for them, right? They're growing, and they're maintaining, and that's what they have to do in this changing landscape, what is known as the NCAA football. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media on Twitter. This is the locker. This is Lock It Down Sports. Talk to you next week.